chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You will hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Sabrina Speaks. Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I am happy to be back with you on this Monday. I know it's hard. Mondays are usually the hardest day to get going, but thank God we're above ground, and you know what? You're here. You're here for another informative discussion right here, and I am happy to be here with you as usual. I hope that you all had a good weekend nevertheless. And definitely today's episode of Sabrina Speaks is lit literally by international lighting, shining bright for 39 years and counting. So from cozy corners to bold statements, they've got the glow to match your flow. Yes, Edward and his team is celebrating. The celebration continues this week. Yes. And I'm understanding that while limited supplies last, those Turkish area rugs went like hotcakes, but he still has a few left. But again, it's been that great in celebrating 39 years of doing business here. The celebration continues this week. So dash down and discover the deals on those area rugs. The bed and bags have been going like hotcakes as well. We know you can start early for Christmas, but they're also treasures galore. Cayman style, Cayman soul, while supplies last. So visit Edward and his team at Ed's Plaza. That's 194 North Sound Road. And they're open. You got an hour to go for today, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or you can always give them a call. That's 345-949-8211 or 345-949-5154. Please note that the content you're about to hear, including any and all discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and or participants, are intended solely for general information and entertainment purposes. This is not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. And guess what? Please don't forget. Don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. No, you don't want to miss it. And if you've missed the memo, for the first hour and a little bit, I'm not going to hold them to time. This part of Sabrina Speaks, we will title Bridging the Caribbean. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing. From September 24th, because this is how important this conference is to the Cayman Islands. From September to the 26th, the University College of the Cayman Islands will be hosting the 5th annual conference of the Caribbean Sociological Association, better known as CASA, 2025. Now, this is in combination with the UCCI's Golden Jubilee celebrations commemorating 50 years of academic service. and leadership right here in the Cayman Islands. That's something for everyone to celebrate. But the conference theme, mobilizing Caribbean sociologies, I constantly slaughter that word, bridge and theory, methods and fields for Caribbean sustainable development. And I will be joined by 4 incredible guests momentarily. I can see them lurking in the background. Yeah, I see them. And those 4 guests would be Dr. Livingston Smith, Dr. Sasha Johnson Charles Baines, and I'm going to also be joined by a student who will be presenting, Kabira Palma, and also Dr. Anika Gray. Yes, I have more on exactly what they will be presenting, but let's see who's commenting. So if you want to join in on the conversation, feel free to let them know your understanding. And please, I beg you, don't panic because it's happening at a college, or you may think that this is too high powered for you. I mean, what I see Dr. Gray amongst all of the other subjects that she will be presenting, and she did all of her work on this, breaking the silence, rape, gender, and the quest for justice in Jamaica. Yeah. And guess what? Miss Palmer, the student, she's also a presenter, and she's representing the next generation of Caribbean sociological thought. So, hey, you don't want to miss this. Whether or not you're a student, you're a parent, whether or not you've even put your foot on the grounds of tertiary education, this conference, they've done all the work. They're going to break it down for you, and you got to keep it locked here just to get an idea of exactly what's in store. So join in the conversation. You can send me an email. You see me got it posted here on the screen. And I'll also be sharing some information right now, and definitely at the end, I'll be putting up the links should you want to go ahead and register. That's the information. I know you guys can screenshot it. Yeah, but I got 4 dynamic guests that will be joining me in a short moment. So let's see who is here commenting. Welcome. Barbara G, good evening. How are you? Hi, Marshall. Hope you all had a good weekend. Hey, Jimbo. How are ya? Connie, welcome back. How was your cruise? You got to share that with me. Hi, Vando. Yes, proud daddy. I figured with the last name. Well, I'm quite sure. Now, you don't get her nervous now, okay? Don't get her nervous. Connie, she's saying hi to Jim. Oh God, you guys are like the Bobbsey twins. You ought to be, Mr. Palmer. I would be as well. And gosh, we got to be proud of everybody. You got to be proud of exactly what UCCI has brought here to the Cayman Islands, and the level of discussion, the level of research and all that sort of stuff that has gone into what will be presented, and to see this is happening right here on our own doorsteps. And the opening event is totally free, but I don't want to take the wind out of their sail. Now, I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I'm having 4 guests at one same time. So I'm going to be playing with the layout here. I'm being camera crew and everything. Dr. Livingston, you think I don't see you smiling? All you need to smile at me because we all learning here today. But I'm going to welcome you all to the stage. Dr. Livingston. Hi, Miss Palmer. Let me bring you all in. Let me bring you. Dr. Sasha. There we go. And Dr. Anika Gray. How did we do? How did we do this? Let's go. Let's see how we're gonna do this. Let's do this. I'm trying to get the layout here so everybody sees everybody. Let's go. I think I'll better do this. And then when you all start talking, then I'll bring you all in if you can just bear with me, because it's the layout that I'm trying to get. Am I missing someone on screen? 1, 2, 3. Am I missing one person? Unmute yourself for me, Doc. Professor Livingston. Yeah, unmute yourself. Speak for me. Nope, not hearing you. Maybe you want to log out. Can all of, well,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, Dr. Gray. Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Okay, loud and clear. So Professor Livingston, let's go back with you. You got yourself on mute. What I want you to do is go back out of the studio and come back in. I'll let you back in. Sometimes that happens. Yeah. I'll remove, yeah. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to, okay, here we go. Dr. Gray, welcome, my dear. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Sabrina. I'm doing well, and it's Anika. Anika is still
Anika. Oh,
yes,
what am I calling you?
Dr. Anika. It's fine. Anika is fine. Please, Anika.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. I want to get the professor back on, to be honest. I'm going to try to drag you all in here so that we don't to stage Anika. Oh, I'm not there we go. Let's see if we can do that layout. And then when the professor comes back in, but you know what? Let's just jump right into it. It's a pleasure. I hear him. See, there we go. There we go. But then I lose one of you. Okay, we're going to play with this as best as we can because I want to accommodate everybody. And if I pull myself out of the background, guess what? You're not going to be able to hear me speak. So this is technology for you at its best. Okay. So let's just start with this whole with the conference. Dr. Livingston, can you speak? Let me make sure I'm hearing you now. No, not hearing you still. Your audio's gone. Can you just double check your mic on your audio settings, Professor? To make sure you're not muted, because we're not hearing you and I'm hearing everybody else. Okay. Ladies, let's just go. Dr. Sasha, it is a pleasure to have all of you here. And I just want to welcome you to Sabrina Speaks, and you all are participating in the upcoming fifth conference here at CASA conference. And you, Dr. Baines, is a speaker, and you're an independent researcher whose work bridges disciplines and communities. And Ms. Palmer is a student, and she's also a presenter, as I alluded to in the intro. And so is Dr. Gray, Anika Gray. But how has it been now leading up to this conference? What has it been like? Either of you can speak. I'll just make sure I put the camera on whoever I see speaking. Go ahead. Anika, go ahead.
Okay, so Sabrina, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for having me here today.
It's a pleasure.
To engage in this particular discussion. I mean, in terms of what it's been like leading up to this particular conference, well, we've been working on the paper. That's what's been going on. So nothing much to report in with regards to that, but really looking forward to the conference itself. Looking forward to the amazing research that is coming out of the Caribbean, and of course, looking forward to presenting the paper that I would have done with my colleagues, Dacia Leslie and Richard Leach from the University of the West Indies. Mona.
Okay. I'll just draw you out of the back a little bit to bring in Ms. Palmer, since we're going to work with it this way the best we can. Ms. Palmer, how are you? And welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you.
How have you been preparing for this? Is this your first time attending an event of this nature and being a presenter?
I've attended a CASA conference before, but this is my first time being a presenter. It's very exciting, to say the least. The first time I was at a CASA conference, I was in awe, just being in a room full of fellow academics and hearing about their studies, their ideas, their perspectives on different sociological constructs was very exciting. And I'm excited to also share my knowledge and my perspective as well.
Okay. Thank you so much. And again, it's a pleasure to have you here. Let me bring in another guest. This is not working well with me. Let's do this one. No, not at all. Tell us what you will be presenting, Ms. Palmer, while I just do some stuff in the background, please. What will be your presentation?
Okay, so I'll be presenting on my bachelor's thesis. The title of my thesis was examining the impact of hypermasculine media content on the formation of misogynistic views or ideals.
Mm-hmm.
So the inspiration for this paper was sparked by my practicum experiences. I recently finished my bachelor's in social work at UCCI, and
Congratulations.
thank you. One of the requirements for the degree is that we have to do 4 practicum placements at different
Mm-hmm.
social work agencies in Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
At one of my placements, I recognized that a lot of the rhetoric that I was hearing from the young boys that I was around sounded very strange
Mm-hmm.
and not like the things that you'd be expecting to hear from boys their age.
Okay.
So this kind of prompted and started my interest. And the more I got into it, the more I realized that a lot of these young boys are being exposed to this hypermasculine content by these creators.
Mm-hmm.
And at such a formative age, these concepts
Mm-hmm.
are really having a substantial impact on the development of their sense of self, but also their ideas about what it means to be a man, not just in the individualistic sense, but to be a
Mm-hmm.
man in society.
Okay. Now, what would you say to other young persons who may be aware of this event but is not sure about coming because they may feel that the conversation may be above their heads? What push would you give to those persons who are not even in tertiary studies, but there's so much information here that you may want to appeal to those persons within your age group?
I would say to just come. I know that academic spaces can be very intimidating because a lot of the times you get caught up in the jargon and the titles of the different people who are presenting and all the
Mm-hmm.
accolades that these people have. But it's important to remember that at one point, these people were just like us, young
Exactly.
people who are just starting out in their field of interest or in their career of interest. And even though it might be intimidating, it's important to be in these settings and to take up space in these settings as young people because
Mm-hmm.
we are going to be the ones basically forming the culture of these settings as we grow and as we develop and take our place in society. And it's really important that we're able to, once we're given the opportunity, to take advantage of the opportunities that we're given and
Mm-hmm.
take up spaces in to take up space in these areas and in these environments. And it might be intimidating at first, especially when you're thinking about the jargon that's used and you might not be familiar with the concepts, etc. But from my experience, a lot of these academics and presenters are more than willing to break it down, especially during the presentation, and to
Mm-hmm.
speak with you afterwards so that you have a, a more concrete understanding of what they're presenting.
Thank you. Well said. And I hope that you will appeal to some of the young people out there. Now, let's say hello to Dr. Baines. Good afternoon and welcome to the Sabrina Speaks Forum. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm quite excited to be here.
It is a pleasure. Now, we're going to focus on the themes, relevance, and diverse audience with you and your research and regional relevance. Now, this, if you would allow us, please tell us a little bit about yourself and directly to the CASA's theme of bridging theory and practice, and how does your research actually reflect that mission?
Okay, but I have been an educator for over a long time, over
You don't want
17 years
timeline
actually.
yourself.
And I have always been quite, stop calculating, so I have really been quite passionate about inclusion and diversity and empowerment of persons within various spaces, whether it's in terms of education and disability and so forth.
Mhm.
And Definitely in terms of what I am going to be focusing on for the conference, my work actually, it's entitled Beauty is What is More Than What Meets the Eye, Challenging Stereotypes, Beauty Standards, and Disability Inclusion in the Caribbean Space. And the conversation is really quite important because many times we tend to think of beauty in a particular way. And to some extent as well, it also leads to the exclusion of certain groups and especially persons with disabilities. So this particular research helps to highlight the issues that even beyond fashion in terms of looking at how we understand beauty ideals, but we also get into larger conversations centering on the need for legislation, understanding the role of the media in terms of sending messages and so forth, and understanding room for the various ministries and institutions to really support the agenda of inclusion and diversity in our Caribbean spaces.
Right. Very interesting. Now, let me see if I can pull the Professor Livingston. I know he's lurking somewhere in the background. So I'm going to have to temporarily pull one of you out of the frame just for a second, but I'll bring you back in, okay? So just bear with me, please. And then we can get into, here he is. Let's bring him in. Technology. Oh, let's hope we can hear him now. Hey, Professor.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, like Bell South.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
How
much.
are you? You must be pulling all the hair out of your head.
Yeah, because I want to hear all these presenters are coming to present their papers. And so my role, Sabrina, is just to talk about the conference and
Yeah,
listen
man.
to the presenters. And by the way, if you want more, we have many more because we have just about 60 presenters who are coming
Wow.
on campus to do papers for this conference. They cover a range of topics, very, very appropriate, very relevant to the Caribbean. We have persons across the Caribbean, and of course other places in the world. And we're making the conference accessible to everybody. So that's why, for example, Walton Island, to get all the meals and so on, is $50 really for the conference.
Yeah.
But for students, it's all free. Just come along. For the high school students at the senior level, university students, college students, we're saying come along on campus and be part of this celebration. It's really a feast of ideas, and you meet people from all over the world who are doing interesting work.
Right.
All right. So the conference begins next week, Wednesday at 12:30, with some panels and so on. And the opening, the highlight, the big opening is at 6:00. And we're going to be having, as you might have heard, Professor Trucks from the University of Toronto, and her topic is transnational migration, remittances, and diaspora engagement. Prof. Trucks is a huge name in Caribbean studies.
Right.
And she's going to be a phenomenal speaker. And after this speech, we're going to be able to ask questions and to mill around and be part of that. And then on Thursday, we come back at 8:30, we're cracking right up to 5:00. And of course, on Friday. So yeah, full days of conference, Sabrina, for this event. And I want to just encourage persons to be part of it.
Right. Now, I understand that there's a church service as well in celebration of the actual UCCI's.
It's
a different thing?
50th.
50th.
A different thing. No, the 50th anniversary international service is actually Sunday coming.
Okay.
At 4 to 6.
Okay.
And if I hope you can come back on your show. Your show is so popular. Let's talk about that alone.
At least you can see I'm doing my homework here, because I'm like, they said absolutely nothing about this, because you're doing this conference as well as it's a collaboration with the 50th year Jubilee. So I was like, wow, how fitting.
Yeah, we have many events to celebrate the 50th. The conference, the international service on the 21st, Later on, we have some distinguished lectures, a marathon, a gala. We have many
Wow.
things coming up because 50 years is really significant.
It
And we want
is.
to make sure we have that. So, but this conference with all these presenters will be really fantastic.
Correct.
You'd have realized, you did mention Anika Gray and her paper that she's doing. Very
Yes.
interesting.
No, that caught my attention immediately when
and
Tamsin sent it through, and I'll be like, I could definitely have an entire show just on that.
But I could warn you though, she's not going to give you all her findings.
No, that's
Not
okay.
to the conference, you see. She just wanted to talk about it broadly. And Dr. Sasha Johns, her
Yeah.
paper is talking about the beauty myth. How
Yes.
do we conceptualize beauty? What about persons who are seen in a different way? What about, I don't want to use the term because there are all kind of better terms, not handicap, the better term to
I'm
use.
gonna poke Dr. Sasha to see if she can just give us a sneak peek of what she's got to say.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm excited for you guys. I'm just so happy to be able to share this platform to assist you in getting the word out there, because there's no sense of you actually doing all of this work and then it just goes on a dusty shelf. And I'm hoping that, our leaders or policy writers and all that sort of stuff, this is an easy peasy for them, because, in policy writing for your government and their strategic broad outcomes, there are a lot of subjects here that are actually could impact the Cayman Islands. And for these professionals to do all of this background research and stuff, it's a win-win for everybody. For $50, I think it's a huge win. And congratulations for you all putting on this 5th annual conference. Good for you.
Thank you so much. But I could go on, but we don't want to hear from the presenters. But at a time, I want to go through the different panels that we have and the plenaries.
Go ahead.
For
and
example,
then we can bring in the doc and Sasha and all the other persons.
Last week you had a Dr. McCree talking about sports for development. And there's a huge panel on that. Experts talking about esports and sports for development. And it's a vital area of sociology, because we talk about sociologists, because sociology spans so many dimensions of our lives. All right. Mm-hmm. We have a panel on sexuality, agency, representation, challenging the silences that Ms. Gray is going to talk about. A panel on digital inequalities and inclusion. For example, one paper is entitled Empowered Women Entrepreneurs, the Case of Digital Technology for Social Equality. We have persons coming from, believe me, across the Caribbean, and they're looking at it from a Caribbean perspective, and Cayman is a critical part of that. I could go through different papers on just that panel. When I go on to other panels, social inequality, poverty, and family, and there are quite a few topics under that. Exploring development within CARICOM, looking at things like child labor practices, looking at welfare practices across Caribbean countries, because we are Caribbean countries, but there are different, we do things,
Right.
Welfare, or we carry out welfare for our people.
Correct.
All right. We have a professor from UWI, the vice principal from Mona coming. She's going to be talking about the extent to which we are meeting the goals that are outlined by CARICOM, the goals outlined by the UN in terms of development indices. There are quite a few papers looking at migration, actually, and of course, the topic of interest in Cayman, but the topic of interest across the Caribbean.
Of course.
Big topic,
of course.
and you're looking at migrants, what pushed them, how they're treated, and the benefits sometimes of the diaspora. In fact, Dr. Trotz will look at that. There's a huge area in sociology that is something the globe is actually grappling with. We have a panel looking at methodology in sociology, what we call epistemology. How do you know that you know what methods are right for what you're studying? And we Caribbean sociologists have unique issues that we have to bring to the globe. Caribbean sociology. There's something called Caribbean sociology. You take, for example, family structures. I mean, we have some unique ways of looking at things. So we have sociology as a subject area, but we look at Caribbean sociology as a distinctive aspect of the field of sociology. We have panels on heritage, reclaiming Caribbean ways of knowing, etc., etc., etc. So it's
Mhm.
a pretty impressive lineup of speakers, Sabrina.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
want people to be excited about it. That's why we make it so accessible. We're saying to young people, it's free for you. All right. We may not be able to provide lunch for everybody, but you can come, be a part of the discussion, be a
Of
part of the
course.
series, and just be a part of the discussion. That's why I'm so happy to have Ms. Kabira Palmer. You mentioned
Mhm.
her earlier on as a young researcher,
Yes.
and that's vital because part of the role of CASA is to bring together
Our young people. Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
to nurture them and to be an example to them. Look at what they're doing,
Mhm.
because they're going to take over in terms of scholarship
Mhm.
when we're no longer around. That's all.
Correct.
Mentorship,
Correct.
intellectual mentorship is very
Mhm.
vital.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm
so we,
huge on succession planning. Everyone knows me from my political position. They knew I was huge on creating those pathways that is not only talked about in a
yes.
plan, but they were visible and they gave the next generation the opportunity to aspire for something so you could see the pathway. So I'm huge. I'm huge on succession planning.
Yes. In fact,
Mhm.
UCCI would later on have an entire conference on research just for young people. Just for young
Right.
people.
Nice.
We just
Nice.
say we want to do that.
Yeah. Well,
And
let's hear.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. So the persons here just a taste of the presenters that we have, Sabrina.
Hmm.
When
Yeah.
you look at their bios, it's really very good. Look at Dr. Gray's bio, graduate of Harvard and Oxford is just phenomenal. Dr. Sasha Johns, all these people are really
Hmm.
very, very accomplished
Hmm.
persons. And they
Yeah.
have and what they're researching is not because I talk about how do we bring it all together. What the
Hmm.
research is important for practice. Research and practice must come together.
Right.
She wants to influence policymakers. What she finds about, for example, sex and rape across the Caribbean,
Hmm.
she's going to say, but we're going to change that. How do we break down the silences in
Hmm.
order to have change? Anyway,
Hmm.
I don't know. That's just speaking generally on that. All right.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much. I may actually have to pull you out
Yes,
to
please.
bring
That's
in
fine.
another guest. Okay. So let's go with Miss Anika. Yeah,
Yes,
I
Sabrina.
surprised you. I surprised you. Full of surprises today. It's only because of the layout of the screen. My humble apologies. I don't mean to scare you.
No
Just
worries.
please just tell us a little bit. The professor kind of alluded to all of the great things that is in store, and we're trying to make sure that we don't scare people away when we're hearing the high level discussions. But I mean, not to dilute your work. What is in store for the audience based on your presentation and understanding what it's all about? We're still taboo on certain subjects and all that sort of stuff. How do you actually bridge the gap to reality in your delivery to make it stick and for people to feel comfortable that, look, it's okay?
Mhm. So this particular the research that we will be presenting, because the research is a collaborative effort
Hmm.
with me and Dacia Leslie and Richard Leach, who are both at the University of West Indies, and it is focusing on a topic that everybody in the Caribbean is and has concerns about, if not now, but at some point in time.
Uh-huh.
And that is sexual violence. And more broadly, of course, gender based violence, which
Yes.
is a big problem, not only in the Caribbean, but worldwide. It is a pandemic. And I
Hmm.
mean, there was the UN Secretary General would have described it as the world's longest running pandemic. And so one of the reasons we wanted to focus on the topic of sexual violence, and in particular in sexual violence as it occurs in Jamaica, was because of how pervasive it is within the society. And
Hmm.
of course, it primarily, not only, but primarily or disproportionately affects women.
Hmm.
And it is committed disproportionately by men, which makes it a very agendaed problem.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we the research focuses on, or the main thing that it focuses on, is looking at the social, cultural, and legal factors that enable sexual violence to continue unchecked. But also, we also wanted to not only examine what the problems are, but also within the paper provide policymakers with, not, I won't call them solutions, but I will say better practices in relation to how they can put in place both legal and institutional measures to support survivors of sexual violence, but also to work on the prevention side of things. So that, in a nutshell, is what the paper is expected to do. And just to let you know, Sabrina, that in the final analysis, what the conclusion that we came to is that measures that are designed to tackle issues like sexual violence must also contend with the gender norms and the gender dynamics that contribute in the first place to its occurrence. It should also contend with the social institutions, such as our music or schools. I know Kabira spoke about the fact that her research focused on men and masculinities. That is something that is actually extremely important, not just with sexual violence, but with violence in general within the Caribbean, because as we know, the major perpetrators of violence within the Caribbean are men. So is it that men are bad? No. What is happening is that they are socialized in a particular way, and that socialization predisposes them to behave in particular, to engage in particular conduct. And so it is important that we are contending with those social institutions that reinforce the norms that lead to sexual violence. And of course, thinking about what are the deficiencies within the current legal framework and what are the deficiencies within the current institutions that have been designed to respond to the problem. So for example, our judicial system, it is there to produce justice, but does it in fact produce justice, and what causes it to not produce the type of justice that we expect from it?
Correct.
When we talk about institutions, there's also our social institutions. So for example, in Jamaica, there you have a victim support unit. But more often than not, the victim support unit cannot function because why? Not because the people who work there do not have the commitment to the job, but because they do not have resources. Because in terms of when looking at the broader social and political commitments of the government, a lot of times these things do not get the priority that they need because there are other things that are more pressing. So you also have to think about all those things when you're thinking about how do we deal with the problem of sexual violence, not just in Jamaica, but also in the Caribbean. And so the paper goes into that discussion. But I will end by saying, Sabrina, that we also situate the problem of sexual violence that we have in the Caribbean all the way back to slavery, because it all begins with slavery, doesn't it?
And we don't want, why people scared of that word, but it's a reality for the Caribbean region.
Yes. Because I'm sure most of us know that during slavery, sexual violence was used against women as a way to punish and to keep them in check. And it has continued. So I just wanted to end there. And as Dr. Livingston would have mentioned, I'm not going to give away anything much in terms of the findings from the research, because I want everybody to come. And if I give you everything, you would not come because you would know everything already.
You think?
Yes.
My head hard. No, but I will come back to another question, because looking at what you're presenting, not that we're actually giving anybody the right to go into anybody's space and rape, okay? But when you look at the different genres of music and you're looking at over-sexualized, look like sex sells, do you feel that that actually diminishes, let's say more women are more appealing? We've just had carnival season, and that has been a big conversation on the CMR TV platform about how the men are dressed versus how sleazy, well, not, I don't want to use the word sleazy, how skimpy the females dress. Not giving anyone the right. Please do not misunderstand what I'm saying. But do you feel that's almost not helping society as well, because you're pretty much got yourself on display?
So I think
You're not giving the men right to touch. But what I'm saying is you got it in your face.
So I think there are two things that are happening there. And I always like to say that in life, you'll always have contradictory truths existing, right? And so on the one hand, we do know that one of the reasons we have sexual violence, and it is perpetrated against women more than anybody else, but it's also perpetrated against men.
Yeah.
The reason it is sexual violence is perpetrated, or the reason somebody might engage in sexual violence, is because generally there is a thinking that I am entitled to you, that you are my property. And so your consent to this particular sexual activity is irrelevant because I am entitled to you. You are my property. There's also the thinking in relation to the objectification of the individual that is being victimized. And by that, I mean, the person who is doing the victimization does not see you as a person. They see you as, and I'm going to be very blunt here, they see you as, if you're a woman, they see you as a vagina. And that's it, right? So there is, so you have that. That's happening. Now, on the other side, you have a situation where you have women who want to be free, to feel free to be able to exercise and to express their sexuality. And women should have that space. Individuals in general should have the space and freedom to be able to express their sexuality. The problem arises when you have that particular thinking that people in general should be allowed to exercise and to express their sexuality. But at the same time, you have these existing norms that say women's naked bodies should be objectified, and women's naked bodies belong to men. So you have a problem there. So I don't have an issue with women and choosing to go out and express their sexuality. The problem that we have to contend with is the norms that sexualizes those bodies and says to people that those bodies are objects, and I don't need consent in order to engage sexually with those bodies. So that's the problem I have. So I personally don't have an issue with women or people in general exercising or expressing their sexuality. What I have a problem with are the norms.
I get you. We got you with a glass of wine, that mentality. Yeah. Stick it right there. Stay right there. I'm going to come back. Dr. Sasha, let's bring you in and hear a little bit more about you. Are you hearing me okay?
Miss Sabrina, you could take me off and bring on Kabira so that
I am.
Right.
Oh, okay. Kamira. Okay, hold on, Dr. Sasha. Let me bring in Miss Kamira, because it aligns with what that other guest was saying. It makes sense. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull you out for a second. There we go. Hey, Kamira. Welcome back, my dear. Professor didn't realize that you were on before, but that's okay because it ties right in to what we were speaking about. And can you go just a little bit more, Kamira, about exactly what you're presenting, understanding how it segues with that last commenter?
Mhm. So one of the reasons I was so interested in the way that
Yes,
I would say you could take me off. You could take me off and bring back the
three females. Okay, not a problem. I'll remove you. Sure. There we go. Go ahead, my love.
Okay, so one of the reasons why I was so interested in this topic is because I see the ways that it causes sociological discord and discord in societies in general.
Yes.
Like Dr. Gray was saying, sexual violence is a pervasive issue that happens all over the world. But when we're looking at it through a Caribbean lens, we want to understand exactly why it's happening in our society so that we can have intervention and so that we can find ways to prevent this from happening.
Right.
Specifically with my research, looking at young men and young boys who are getting indoctrinated into this way of thinking. When we look at misogyny, we're not talking about just being like, oh, men are better than women. We're looking at the systematic devaluing of all traits and characteristics that are viewed as female.
Right.
And we see this kind of rhetoric all the time, but we don't really recognize it. So, for example, you have hard and soft skills. So, soft skills are generally devalued. These skills include communication, problem solving, crisis management, etc. And a lot of these things are associated with women. In contrast to hard skills, where we're looking at more technical or practical skills that we can have, those are valued more in our society. One of the papers I was reading for my research was showing that a lot of the men who are convicted of sexually violent crimes against women do score high on the misogyny scales
Really?
that the researchers were using, which was very concerning for me. And in my perspective, this tool or the scales that they were using could be used from before these men are even perpetrators to figure out whether or not this is an issue and whether or not their views of masculinity are going to be contradictory to what healthy versions of masculinity are. I know that the term toxic masculinity is tossed around a lot on the internet, and because of that, it's kind of lost all, majority of its meaning.
Many
But
times it's used out of context.
exactly. So it's very important for us to have a rudimentary understanding of these terms and how these ideas can be portrayed through different parts of the media.
Right.
So through my research, I found out that there are multiple different types of misogyny that can be conveyed through hypermasculine media content that might not be as obvious to the passing viewer. And a lot of the times, especially when you're looking at the process of indoctrination, you're going to start off with something that's very soft and very gentle, right? Because you don't
And
want
then
to scare away your
correct.
viewers from interacting with your content, right? And I know that especially now, um, and I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day. This is very funny, but there are two polarizing sides of each argument or each topic, etc. So you have toxic masculinity, but you also have toxic femininity, right? And when these two sides of the argument are constantly going against each other, it's not going to weaken their resolve or weaken their arguments. If anything, is going to strengthen their resolve and their hatred of each other, right? So a lot of the times, especially, and I realize that a lot of the target audience for these hypermasculine creators are young boys, right? Because these are boys who are going through puberty, they're just kind of figuring things out, figuring out their identity, etc. And then if you're looking on social media and you're seeing, oh, men don't provide, I don't need a man, whatever, whatever.
This
These
whole
young
independence
boys,
thing. Yeah.
exactly, but these young boys don't have the background knowledge or experience to understand why there are women speaking this way, right? They don't understand or even know about the different waves of feminism. They don't know that up until a couple of decades ago, women couldn't open bank accounts on their own. Women didn't have any autonomy or any say about how their lives are going to go. These are the things that influence the way that women feel and the way that women move around in society. And we're at a place in society where a woman doesn't need to rely on a man to be able to open a bank account, have a successful career, and lead a productive and happy life, right? But again, they're not understanding all of this because they don't have the context, nor have they been on the earth long enough to get the context.
So it's
And
easier then to go to the violent side of things because of not understanding, you think? Or just
exactly.
outright disrespect?
Exactly, because when you're hearing one side say that women don't need men, men aren't needed, men are this, that, and the third, but then you're hearing things from another side saying, no, you're a valuable person, you as a man have this power and you need to become this alpha male, and these are the things that you can do to help yourself feel better. They're going to be listening to that side more, even though the things that they're hearing from that side in the long term does not benefit them or the formation of their identity, like as a whole, essentially. And it's very interesting because a lot of social media platforms play into this rhetoric, and they play into the, I guess, the separation between different sides and opinions. In my paper, I also mentioned the fact that algorithms on these social media platforms essentially aid in creating an echo chamber. So if I only like content, like for example on Instagram, I love cat memes. That's all I really see on Instagram reels, just a bunch of cat memes. So that's what Instagram is going to keep recommending to me.
All right.
Similarly, if I'm watching content from one hyper masculine creator, Instagram is going to see that, or TikTok is going to see that, YouTube is going to see that, and recommend me more content from those creators or from that type of creator so that I will stay on the platform longer because it makes them more money.
Okay.
And it's not
Interesting.
only for hypermasculine content, it's for every genre of content that there is on the internet that these algorithms play into. And while I was doing my research, I also don't want to give away too much, but while I was doing my research, I did have to consume some of this hypermasculine content because I wanted to really understand what was being said and what was being promoted. I
Right.
only viewed two of the videos. I didn't even watch like the whole video through, but for weeks on end, I was still getting recommended hypermasculine content.
Because it was in your search history that you didn't clear. But I'm
Exactly.
going to ask you to take a
Exactly.
pause right there because I understand Dr. Sasha may have to leave us before this segment is over. And I don't want her to feel like we missed her out. I'm sorry. So give me a sec, Ms. Palmer. Let's bring in Dr. Sasha. There we go. My humble apologies. We're good. You're hearing me good.
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. There looks as though there's a little delay, so please forgive me.
Quite clearly.
Yes, please go right ahead. This is your platform. Just let us know. You can see how the context, how the flow of conversation has been going. It's not enough time for you, for us to go along with the flow. But please, I want people to understand what you have in store. You can give us a little sneak peek, as you alluded to earlier on, with what you have in store. But more so, the big takeaway or the key message that you would want, hoping to share through your presentation, and whatever else you want to leave with us.
Yes, well, definitely, as we explore understanding, beauty norms and stereotypes and so forth, it really requires us to dig deep within ourselves as a society. Because, when we think about the ideals, that value system that we have to go through some sort of historical analysis in terms of understanding how we have come to ostracize certain groups of persons. And so the messaging that we have gotten as we were younger and growing up and looking at the television and various forms of media is that we tended to see beauty centered around Eurocentric ideals. As society has evolved and as we have fallen in love with ourselves, we've seen that expansion of diversity in terms of representation of larger bodies, looking at different ethnic groups and so forth. But, you know, there's still room in terms of identifying space for persons with disabilities. And I think sometimes when persons see someone with disability walk in the door, you know, they just think that that person has a disability. But in terms of using an intersection approach, we understand that when I walk through the door, yes, I may walk through the door with one particular type of disability, but of course it's nuanced by the fact that I may be female, live in a particular community, I may be of a certain socioeconomic background. And so when I walk through the door with those different experiences, people may decide to treat you differently based upon their perception.
Correct.
And of course, persons also judge you based upon whether they could identify whether you have a disability or not. So many times persons with what we would call the invisible disabilities, sometimes they're given a pass versus someone with a disability that's more obvious, such as a physical disability. And so when we talk about representation, we understand that we have to represent not only larger bodies, but the types of disabilities as well. To a large extent, when we think about what accommodations are made within the in fashion industry, you tend to see beauty and fashion and clothing and so forth designed more or less for persons with what we call typical bodies. And so we may not appreciate, if we don't have a relative or know someone within our community with a particular disability, what they may require, because they also want to feel beautiful. They also want to dress in a particular way in which they have dignity, they can express themselves in a large extent. And so making sure that we understand as a society that we have to encourage space for designers, for persons within the industry to be able to innovate, to be able to offer. Obviously, cost effectiveness is an issue, to be able to offer that space for those persons is really important. But more so in terms of looking at showed with a difference, because we understand that it's not just about persons with disabilities or persons with Down syndrome and walking fashion show, but we understand that it has a larger impact on our society, even for the persons who are working as models, families, their parents, because it then challenges persons in terms of what these stereotypes may be in terms of what they can do and what they can't do. It offers them another platform to be able to express themselves, to think about potential job opportunities. It represents an opportunity for them to have some sort of discipline training. They function just like any models within the industry on times and so forth. And so really and truly having that particular space really has a larger impact. And then of course it helps us to understand, what are we doing as a society? Are we just simply tolerating persons? And sometimes as a society, what we do is that we just say, okay, I've made room. But it's not just simply about that. It's part of larger understanding that, we need to have some sort of legislation. In Trinidad and Tobago, we are somewhat behind in terms of legislation, comprehensive legislation, I would say, in terms of making sure that we have certain things put in place, the structures put in place to accommodate persons with disabilities. And even in doing so, making sure that there's some sort of mechanism to relate the extent to which various institutions are supported. It's very important that we appreciate that we have to do more as Caribbean persons, as Trinbagonians as well, when we add to that ensuring equality and equity within our society. You know, fashion, of course, is all about empowerment, it's all about inclusion, it's all about that we impact. And so the challenge really that does indicate when we think about lending support, being advocates to persons with disabilities, there are two questions in particular designer highlighted that I really think that I would like to end with, which is in terms of where do you want to go and what support do you need to get there. And if we understand that we need to be more open-minded and ensure that at the infrastructural and institutional level that we're willing to make those particular changes, and as a society we understand that we also need to do internal work to understand that persons with disabilities are human beings. They have desires, they have needs just like any others, and they deserve a right to be in a society and occupy the spaces that we find ourselves in.
Okay, I know you got to leave us, but one final question. Why do you think community leaders, education, and even parents should attend this event?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Why? I'm just sending out, I know there's a delay. Why should community leaders, education, or even parents attend this event?
Sorry, I had a bit of a glitch.
I'm asking you, why should community leaders, educators, and even parents tune or attend this event? Your opinion, why persons should attend the event?
Oh, well, definitely it's in terms of challenging stereotypes and understand. It's all about challenging these stereotypes, you know, understanding that you can see a person beyond their disability. And sometimes even as parents, you know, you have this idea of what, you know, your child can or cannot do. Sometimes even as organizers, persons within various institutions, they have these ideals which actually impacts hiring practices, because it means therefore that when it comes to what you believe they can do, and even for the individuals who are within that particular space, it really pushes them to go beyond their boundaries. And it's really an eye-opener, especially for parents, because it gives them an understanding that, oh my gosh, there are so many talented and skilled persons, even when they have disabilities. And for persons who are running institutions, it really should give them that aha moment that a lot more of investment and support, and potentially looking to see how your businesses can be enhanced, enriched by persons with disabilities. That's something that you can really understand can happen.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on the show. I want to wish you all the best. And I'm hoping that by way of the time that you had, that you know, persons will get a better understanding of what's in store from your presentation, and definitely be more intrigued to hear more. I want to wish you, is this your first time coming to the Cayman Islands? I'm thinking we got a delay here.
Yes, I've never been to the Cayman Islands.
Oh, well,
Yes.
Welcome. There's a lot in store. Anyhow, all the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Professor Livingston. Oh, let's add you back to the stage. There we go. We've lost another doc. I wanted to wrap up from her. I think she just fell off. So feel free to join us. But this is an opportunity, Professor, for you to you know, give us to recap whatever it is you would like to leave with our listening audience. This will be the last time that you'll be featured on this space and promoting this event, this conference, because it's next week, and we want to make sure that persons go ahead and get registered. So by all means, I will go back to Ms. Palmer as well.
I'm delighted to do so. This is a very special event It's part of our 50th anniversary celebration. We're bringing the Caribbean's premier conference in sociology right to UCCI. We have some 60 papers to be presented covering a whole range of issues in Caribbean sociology. When I say Caribbean sociology, I'm talking about things that affect us, migration and family patterns and sexual behaviors and migration and sustainability, all the issues that confront us as Caribbean people, we're looking at. It's not just a talk shop. It is where persons who have done research are saying, here's what we have found. Policymakers, here's what you can do. NGO leaders, parents, community leaders, let us make a difference in terms of utilizing sociological research to confront some of the issues that we face. And so we're making this event accessible. All right. I mentioned, Sabrina, it starts on next Wednesday at 12:30. The first panels begin. At 6 o'clock, we have a huge open lecture. It's free to everybody. Come along. It's open. The lecture is open by Professor Trott. She's looking at issues of migration, issues of the diaspora. These are critical issues. She's talking about it globally, Caribbean-wise, Cayman-wise. All right. And I mentioned that the event is important because of the connections you can make. It's important because of the information that will be delivered at the event. And interestingly, we do have persons from the Cayman Islands presenting papers. Last week you had one. This week you have a student, but we have quite a few other persons doing these kinds of research on Cayman. And what is vital is the connections and the fertilization of ideas that come when people come together to analyze common issues and common themes and challenges. So go right now to UCCI website. You can go and register. I'm saying to young people in high schools, we have reached out to all the schools. The senior high school students, all free for them. College students, it's all free for you. All right, so you can. I'm going to place in the actual program, 3-day program on the website. So you can go on and see what is there and just come to what you like, come to all of it. The idea is that we don't want to have them come and we are here and not have a full house to engage in that discussion. All right.
Which is why it's important that so that persons are not intimidated based on the subjects, based on the, we don't want that. We want persons to go out and go with an open mind, attend with an open mind.
Yes.
And this is why it was important for me to get that message out, that you shouldn't be scared or intimidated because you're feeling it's only for university, college persons, or that you may not. You limit yourself by saying, I'm not smart enough possibly to attend because I may have never attended college or university. I'm just a high school graduate. We don't want people to box themselves in. And this is one of the key messages that I'm hoping by ways of this platform that we will actually be sending out there, that it's okay for all persons to attend. Don't limit yourselves. Don't overthink it is what I'm trying to get. The environment is going to be conducive for everyone. Just come with an open mind. Be a sponge is what I'm trying to get across.
Indeed. I'm doing a paper myself, in fact, 2 papers. I'm doing something in religion, actually, the sociology of religion. You're surprised to know I've studied glossolalia, which is tongue speaking. I'm very fascinated by that particular occurrence. And I've investigated it. I've also investigated those religions which cause problems. For example, we had one recently, cults. I'm also studying cults, CULTS, and the dangers of cults. So there's a range of topics that we have on display. So please be a part of it, everybody. Go and get registered. Come in your numbers to the opening, 6 o'clock, the big lecture with Dr. Trott. Thank you so much.
Sure.
By the way,
Professor Livingston, you must be very proud that you have a student here, and I'm going to bring Miss Palmer back in, but it must speak a lot about the level of education that you're giving there. And then when you look at your students participating in an event like this with people from all over the region, and she's aspiring to finish, her own degree, but yet she's a presenter.
Allow me to just say something, because I taught Kavira. She's a brilliant student. And but the fact is, Sabrina, our students leave us and they go all over the world and hold their own.
Yeah, speaks a lot.
Schools. And I'm the same person. UCCI has evolved. I mean, you said a top school, so I'm not surprised at the level of delivery, the level of competence that she has in research. One last thing, though, as I'm here, next Sunday coming, even though it's unrelated, we have our interdenominational service at UCCI 50th. Come along at UCCI 4 to 6 will be the big worship service, because we have to have God in all of this, I believe, and the values that come with our experience. That's also vital.
Yeah, I know it's not a part of the conference, but it was a part of the Jubilee celebrations, which is why I deliberately brought it up, because normally in the Caribbean, you put God first in everything. So I was not at all shocked. I was not at all surprised that you had a church service. It was me doing my research for today's show, and I'm like, they didn't say anything about this.
Yeah, we had it all over. In fact, it's Sunday at from 4 to 6 on campus, the Sir Bassett Johnson Hall, the big event. Prayer warriors come, worshipers come, atheists come, agnostics come, all the denominations. Let's come together and just have a good time.
Good. Yes. Don't leave us. Let's hear from Ms. Palma.
Thank you so much.
There we go. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I know your parents are proud. You must be proud of yourself as well. I mean, you have the professor speaking so fondly of someone like yourselves. And it just tells us that the future is bright. And this is the first time that I've met you. I will publicly say I commend you on your delivery. I love how you speak. I could take a couple of classes from you with how, and, congratulations. But, what do you think older generations can learn from young persons, from the youth perspectives in this sociological space? That is a word that may actually throw off people. But when you look at even how you have taken on this study, how that too may have even shaped you in the ways you see the community and the role that you will have in society. So that's a two-pronged question.
So when we're talking about sociology, I know it's a big word, and a lot of people get confused, but sociology is literally just the study of people and the structures and the organizations or the institutions that affect people. So sociology is relevant in every field. It's relevant for everybody. And I know that a lot of the times young people, we get intimidated, especially when we see, for lack of a better terms, elders in the fields that we're pursuing or the fields that we're trying to get into, and we get very intimidated. But it's important to recognize the fact that, especially in sociology, younger people are more connected to or have more the word is slipping me, but they have more contact with a lot of these newer sociological phenomena that are happening.
They're more on the ground, more real in real time on the ground.
And they also provide a type of retrospection for the sociological phenomena that have already been established and that have been written about by the elders and the people who are already in these fields. And I feel like that's something that's very important and something that doesn't really get talked about a lot, especially with older generations and the interactions that they have with the younger generations in these fields. But I think it's also really important for young people to not be afraid to take up space. And I know it can be very intimidating. It happens with me all the time too. I get imposter syndrome very often. But it's important to recognize the fact that regardless of your education level, whether you have a formal education or not, you do still have opinions and experiences that are unique to you and that deserve to be heard, not only by the people who are closest to you, but your community. Right. And community, even though it might seem like the community is just the people who are in your neighborhood, Cayman, the Caribbean, the global space, we're all interconnected and it's all a
Right.
community, and there's so many layers to these different communities and so many factors at play that we don't even recognize that we interact with,
You're correct.
or we don't even recognize that we acknowledge um these structures
Different
that are at
factors. Yeah.
play. hmm And
Which
I
is,
think
go
especially
ahead.
for young people, sorry, especially for young people, when there is a lack of the, I guess, educational knowledge or educational prowess, and we don't really know all the jargon or all the terms, you start to think that what you have to say isn't as important. But again, it really is important. I've had a lot of conversations with different people who may not be in my field of study, but have given me truly inspiring insight into things that I have studied for years, and some of these ideas or concepts or the connections I was not able to figure out. So
Oh, wow.
regardless of if you know the terminology or not, or if you've been in these academic spaces before, it's important for you to be there now and to take advantage of this opportunity to get your voice out there. A lot of the times when I interact with people my own age, a lot of the conversations, they're like, wow, you should really write an article. This conversation has content that would be incredibly useful in an
Mm-hmm.
academic journal. But again, the intimidation is there. But even if you don't have the language or the knowledge of the concepts to go with it, there will always be a researcher or an academic person that will be there to work with you, to help you process your ideas so that you can get this information out and out into the space where it deserves to be.
Well, I got to put Papa's comments up on the screen and read it out aloud. Professor, you stay with us because I want to hear a little bit more on this lady, because I'm going to throw a question on her. Don't get worried. Don't get scared. Awesome job, Kabira. I am happy you are using the existing data and challenging the body of knowledge out there as you put forward your new knowledge, which indicates we are living in a changing world. He further says, I hope you can develop this into a doctoral piece. You go, Doc. He's already given you that professional title. This is your blessing pronounced on you. Now, that's one proud papa. And I must say, like I said, yeah, that's all right. You corrected yourself, but that's what she's for, because I'm going to ask you this question. As thorough as you are, as deep in research that you actually go, how challenging may you have found communicating with others, older persons, coming from an informed perspective and trying to avoid being categorized as rude or know-it-all? Have you ever experienced that you're asking or you're in dialogue, in communication, coming from an informed perspective and being totally misread by persons that may be older than you, and like taking it that you misunderstanding, but taking it as you're being rude? Have you found that even amongst your peers?
Yes, I've definitely had those
The smile says it
experiences.
all.
Yeah, I've definitely had those experiences. And I mean, having studied social work, I know that I'll never know it all, right? I need to continue with this lifelong learning to stay up to date with like all the things that are happening, new discoveries, etc. So I'll never know it all. And when I interact with fellow academics, I come from a place of genuine curiosity, but I think that it's also important, especially as a younger person, not to devalue the information that I already know, and to not subconsciously put myself down and try to make it seem like, oh, well, I'm very new to this, so I don't understand what's going on. No, it's okay to have questions. It's okay to mess up and not speak as eloquently as you always do. It took me a while to learn how to properly communicate my thoughts in a way that's intelligible. I tend to ramble and talk very fast when I get very passionate. So I've had to learn how to kind of deal with that. I think as well, something that I find very interesting is that as a young person, my vocabulary is very much so influenced by social media and the content that I consume. And a lot
Nice.
of the times it can kind of create a communication barrier between older people, but I don't necessarily see that communication barrier as something that shouldn't be addressed, right? Older people also want to know what younger people are thinking, and
Exactly.
the lingo that we use. For example, when I'm talking with my mom and I'm saying something, she'll be like, "Oh, what does that word mean?" And then I take a
Hmm.
little aside, I explain the meaning of the word, and then sometimes she'll use those words with her students as
As
well in
long
her
as you don't
classes.
do it while rolling the eyes, because you would lose the message.
Yeah. So it's about integrating the old and the new, essentially.
Right.
And
Which,
I think that once we do that, a lot more a lot more younger people will feel comfortable in these spaces,
correct.
knowing that, okay, I recognize that word, I recognize that terminology, I understand where this is going. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think that's why it's so important to, this might be a little bit controversial, but I think that's why it's so important in the academic space to sometimes put away the jargon. Like, as academics, we understand that we're intelligent, we understand that we're knowledgeable about the topics that we're speaking, but
Hmm.
the papers that we're writing, the research that we're
For your
publishing,
layman. Hmm.
yes, they're not solely for us in the academic
Hmm.
space, right?
Hmm.
You're sharing your knowledge to the wider general public. So you
Hmm.
have to make sure that the wider general public actually understands what you're saying.
Hmm. Which goes right into why I don't want persons to be intimidated by attending this 3-day conference, because
Hmm.
I know automatically you can see just based on the engagement, they're like, oh, they're talking above my head. And it could be one word that throw them off,
Yeah.
which is why it was important for me to use that example to you about how you communicate being misunderstood. And I'm glad that you say that, because many a times you read these reports and it's so over the top because you're writing it as though you're writing it for your own peers who are in
Hmm.
that space. But if you want it to actually take up traction, be absorbed, be digested, be uh, implemented, which is ultimately what we want, because there are suggestions, we want to really make sure that it is in a language that is digestible without diluting your work.
Yes.
That's also key, without diluting your work. But I totally agree with you. And again, I am so proud of you. I'm proud of everyone. I'm proud of UCCI for putting on this event and just hearing how you deliver, how everyone we have showcased here. If if Dr. Anika wants to join us back, I've sent to Tamsin that she can join me back to give her some more time as well. Professor Livingston, she's feel to join back in. But yeah, Miss Palmer, I want to thank you. I want to thank you as a young person, for putting yourself out there, for definitely seeing and following your dream, following your passion, and for putting the work into it. I totally can relate because you have done the tertiary bit, you have done all the studies and all that sort of stuff. As you continue to evolve into your own person, I want you to wear that as a badge of honor, because it ain't no favors. You earned it, and you step
Thank
into
you.
that. You step into that. You own it. Don't you ever make anybody dilute what's in store for you, because it's earned. But again, I asked this at the beginning, but for the sake of closing out this segment, what would you say to other students who you would want to encourage, who may just be joining us, hearing that you're on here and you're a phenomenal job, and to anyone about the importance of attending this conference?
I would say just to come. I mean, it's better than being at home, being on your phone alone, right? I know that sometimes it can be very intimidating, but even if you're going to be at the conference and on your phone for a majority of the time, if at least one presentation catches your eye and inspires you, then your attendance is worth it. I know
Yes.
that, again, it's a 3-day conference. It's kind of long. Maybe not all of the subject matter that will be discussed is relevant to you or what you're interested in. but having these experiences, getting comfortable in these spaces is really important, especially as young people. And I know that a lot of the times our voices are not heard, but
Glad you said it.
I
I'm
think that it
glad you
could
said that.
be a
Mm-hmm.
part. I think that part of the problem is that we're not in these spaces. So once
Mm,
we start to take up space, then our
mm-hmm.
voices will be heard. You know,
Mm-hmm.
once we start to normalize our lingo and the way we speak and express ourselves in these spaces, again, it will be
Mm-hmm.
normalized. So more young people will feel comfortable coming into these
Right,
spaces.
right, right.
And that was part of the reason why I really did want to present, because I wanted to be an example, essentially, to show other people that you don't
It's
need
okay.
to, yeah, you don't need to be perfect all the time. You don't need to kind of adjust and change yourself to be a version of what you think academia needs to be. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I speak like this all the time. I'm very passionate about all of the things that I study and I research, and I present that passion to other people because I want to also know what other people are passionate about. Once you
Mm-hmm.
find your passion, then you'll have your direction in life, and then you'll be more motivated to come and speak at conferences like this, to pursue higher level education, to get more involved in your community and start looking around and seeing the things that are happening in your community, how you're a part of it, and how you can also be a part of the solution.
Kabir, I noticed twice you said you've made comments about how you speak. I have struggled for 51 years of trying to be what society wants to pigeonhole you. At 51, let me tell you something. Do not stop.
Mhm.
There's a time, there's a place for everything, and you never know what your next chapter will be. Don't you change one thing about who you are, because you never know who's listening. You never know what the next job will present itself, and exactly how you're presenting today. Never get a second chance to make a first impression. I would have never known that I would have been in a space like this. I would have never known that I would have been a politician. I would have never known that I would have been on Radio Cayman before even going into politics. But my mother stood firm, and I constantly, with age, not perfected, but I got better as I embraced who I am. And even at this age of 51, Kabira, I still get actually negative comments about how I speak, yet it's one of the things that people admire in me, in my delivery. So from someone who's 51, don't you ever, because there was a little time that I was your age that I even questioned how I delivered, not realizing that one day I would be having my own podcast, that I would have been an influential person as being in political space, or even on Radio Cayman for over a decade.
Mhm.
So I've heard you, I've listened to you, and don't you let anyone take that glow away from you, because you never know exactly how you're delivering, where that will land you in the future.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Don't you make anybody dim your light. And it is indeed an honor. I wish I could be there for your event, but I'll be here on my show, Dr. Livingston. What the heck? Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
farmer.
have a
It is a
challenge for
pleasure.
you. I have a challenge for you. We have, I hope we can even have the keynote come on your show if you want. I mean,
Oh, I would love. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
I would
we have
love that.
yeah, we have many more speakers lined up. I thought I had more shows with you.
Let
I
me
have
tell you something. Let me tell you that keynote is a key, because that is huge. Understanding the melting pot and
yeah.
the diversity
Mhm.
of persons within the Cayman Islands. I would love that. So you know what? Have the keynote speaker present that, but break that down for this show, so it wouldn't be like giving away secrets before. It would
Precisely.
be already in the open. But I would love to hear that, because of the
And
various nationalities that we have with amongst us here.
And because I heard that I would have some more shows, I have about 3 or 4 more persons lined up. Really interesting topic, believe me, intriguing topics. I send it to you and you see what you think.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a space about we're voices of the islands, conversations for the world. And what I want, we're elevating talk. And I don't want persons to not leave any episodes, if I can, without nuggets. And Kabira, you have knocked it out of the ballpark this evening. And I'm hoping that you inspire so much persons to not give up on who they are, for self-love, and for believing in you. And yes, Professor, I would be more than happy with advance notice so that I can prepare to hear those topics, and definitely to structure it for my audience here. But it would be good post the presentation so that they're not giving away what they want to deliver at the conference. So we're dissecting it down, because that is huge. The lady from Jamaica as well, about oh my God, I could do an entire show on that. I would really love to just tear that apart. But it's for all of the knowledge that has been presented here this evening. I realized this platform was just too small for me to showcase and highlight each of you in your own individuality, which is Kabira. You lucked out because I was able to put a huge light on you. And everything happens for a reason, because with the turmoil that we're seeing right now, you're seeing what's happening in the US. We're seeing like our young people, the next generation is just angry. We need to pause. And here we are, having a young person like yourself that has remained focused, delivering something like this on a stage of a conference of this magnitude. There is hope for the future. And
before I leave, Sabrina, part of when we have conferences, what we try to do is to have public education also. So we have these speakers come in, we try to get them across the country and just to talk about what they're doing, so that person's, are part of the broader conversation. And they come on campus now for the details. So your role is vital, and I want to thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have some more for you, and I'll send that to you very shortly.
Yeah, man, not a problem. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, so Kabira, I mean, I'm impressed at you, and I would love to maybe one day with maybe you and maybe two of your other friends who would be not all on one side. We want diversity, to do a roundtable discussion, to give the young people a platform here on this space, topical issues, to just ensure that we can understand the language that you all are speaking, because I'm thinking somewhere there's a big gap. And in that gap now, without being informed, without the necessary tools, without the necessary resources, I'm feeling that anger, animosity, hate is filling that void. And it's an indictment on all of us to make sure that you all are heard. And I am a big proponent in inviting you all to the table. So I am extending publicly this invitation. Get over this whole conference, because I know you're building for that. You're waiting for this opportunity. I'm extending an invitation for you to get a group of persons. Let me know in advance what the topic will be so that I can inform myself. And we don't want it all one side. We want all sides represented. Similar to that of a debate, but on a specific topic that you feel is relevant and would be engaging to the young people, so that we can all understand. And I would have no objection in even what you consider the older generations being there, because it brings a total level balance to the conversation. So I will challenge you after that. You can actually just go on and reach out to me. And I'd be more than happy to entertain a bunch of young persons in this virtual space. You can see how it works. I can't do no more than 3. So it would be interesting, unless I can do a different layout. But I want to maximize it so we're all speaking at one same time. I'm sure I could do it where I could do at least 4. I'll have to ask Sandra how to do that. But I don't want what happened today to happen again. So I'll accommodate for a total of 4 guests, including myself, 5. So that young persons will realize that they will have an outlet here and we can hear it, because I feel we're missing something in our society. And I don't want to not have this opportunity to be an outlet to the young people and let it go to waste. What are your thoughts on that?
I would be excited to do that. I genuinely think that every opportunity that we come across to improve the communication and improve essentially the way that the society operates should be taken, and should be taken fervently. I definitely think that there needs to be, like you said before, members of the older generations, but also diversifying opinions, because you don't necessarily want it to become an echo chamber, and you wouldn't always want to be surrounded by yes men. You want people who are going to challenge
Correct.
your ideologies and challenge your views so that you can, in the end, either stand even firmer on your views
Mhm,
and your values,
mhm.
or your perspective then evolves into something greater. And I think that your willingness to take this initiative to provide that space is really admirable.
Oh, thank you. I just like to see all perspectives. We could probably choose, let's say, example only, not telling you go here, about your body, rights to your body. Some of the topics that is pretty much we can only talk about it behind closed doors. That's what the problem is. And we're not having wider conversations on certain topics. But I would leave it for your generation, your age group to tell me. I would allow you to choose the topics so that you can be more engaging. And yes, I'm more than happy to entertain you guys, even if it's a once a month or twice a month segment. There we have a roundtable discussion and we get all perspectives on a specific topic and we invite our audience to participate. I will leave that to you too, and just I'm the outlet.
Definitely. We'll definitely be in contact.
Well, it has been a pleasure, Kavira. I know Dad, the whole family, and all your friends. I'm seeing them here. Awesome young lady, Miss Jennifer Henry, and Connie's still here with us. And I think you must know who this Shan is, huh?
Yes, my best
Crabs.
friend Ashanti.
Yes, there you go. Well done. She's saying, well, good for you. Well, then, all the best on the upcoming conference. It has been a pleasure entertaining you here on the Sabrina Speaks show. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Tansen has all of my contact details. You can see it here on the platform as well. Email, give me a call, let me know, and we can get it rolling.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Have a good evening. All the best.
You too.
Thanks. Well, there you have it. Let me just get back to myself here. And there you have it. For those of you who want to attend the upcoming conference, that is all the information. Earlier on, I shared it below, so you can copy and paste it there. But for you who have the screenshots, I think this is something huge that we should actually try and attend based on the topics. And what a fine young lady. I'm looking forward to what topics they will actually bring to the table. It's going to be an interesting dialogue with our young people. And I've heard them say a lot of times that they don't feel that their voices are heard. And I'm going to definitely make it my business to entertain them here on this platform and see what topics they come up with. I'm just going to be that bridge. Yes, I'm going to be that bridge for them. So all students are free once you have an ID to prove that you are a student, is able to attend this event. And for all of the adults who are wanting to attend, $50 and lunch is included. So that would be interesting. The grand opening or the official opening is at 6 o'clock, but I'll be right here on Sabrina Speaks. So I would not be able to attend that grand opening event. But I'm quite sure that we will give you an update on it. So it's taking place from the 24th to the 26th of UCCI. At UCCI, and then this Sunday coming is the church service. So even though it has nothing to do with this conference, it's all in celebration of 50 years of being here in the Cayman Islands. We got to really be proud of our jurisdiction. And you hear students like Ms. Palmer, and you're hearing the level and the quality of presenters that will be gracing our shores, many of whom have never been to the Cayman Islands. But this 5th annual CASA conference is actually taking place right here in the Cayman Islands. I feel that we should all attend this in our huge numbers. And whether you're a scholar, or a student, or community leader, or policy advisor, there will be a seat there for you. $50. If it's something from a government perspective, ask your supervisor, your chief officer, whoever, to just pay that for you, or just invest in yourself, and go and take in all of that. So yeah, let me hear from you. It's now open mic segment. You hearing some of the conversations that really sparks an interest in me in how women are actually sexualized in our society, and many a times the blame based on whose perspective they're talking about. They just flaunting themselves. It's like they're setting themselves up. Can you say the woman is at fault, or should the men exercise self-control? It's not your body is not theirs. It'll be interesting to get your take on that. And that is why that was so interesting for me to think about it. When you think about it and you see what's happening at all of our carnivals, and this is not only in Cayman, this is all around the world. You're seeing how these costumes now that has gone from t-shirts and jogger, I guess you would call them biker shorts, but the female versions as well. You see mostly the men in that style of attire for Bacchanal, Carnival, whatever you want to call it. And it's becoming skimpier and skimpier and skimpier. There's one thing about, embracing your body. There's nothing wrong with that, but how far is too far? And then we know what happens when you mix alcoholic beverage, but does that give them a right under the influence? So it's very interesting where that is going as we look around the region. I don't know if you're aware, but it is just before the show, we had another breaking news that there was another Venezuelan boat that was actually not intercepted, but blown up again this evening in Venezuelan water. And it is alleged, of course, we're still getting updates on that there's been a second boat now that the U.S. has targeted of drug carrying vessels in the Venezuelan water, which is right in our Caribbean waters, a second one today. So we got to keep our eye out on what's going on, because I'm quite sure, and I'm not going for the tensions. You're seeing where tensions in the U.S. is rising based on the unfortunate shooting. You're seeing political divides now are taking place, and I have to bring it home. We have so much to be blessed here in the Cayman Islands that we can go through elections. We're seeing what's happening around us regionally. We see what's happening in the United States with gun crimes, different types of violence, and we are still a blessed jurisdiction. And I know it has to be prayer. It speaks a lot about our society, but it is a task to maintain peace and order here in our society. You will not hear me bring up U.S. politics here, but when it hits close to home, like what's happening with their strong presence, and we understand that the director, Mr. Robert Scotland, who's in charge of the Cayman Islands Coast Guard, had an article where, he's supporting what the U.S. has done with intercepting anyone's with nefarious activities, especially guns and drugs, that they support those efforts, because hoping that will actually send a clear message that it will not be tolerated. But when it's directly in our doorstep, proximity matters. And we are not immune from anything as transshipment points, or understanding our borders and how important border security is for the safety, the quality of life of the Cayman Islands that we have been so blessed with, understanding that there's so much more resources that is still needed. And I'm hoping that our powers that be, as they're in the middle of budget and trying to find sufficient funding, that the necessary allocations will be applied accordingly, with the eyes focus on the region, international, where we're seeing an escalation in tensions as it pertains to geopolitics. And that's why it's so important to have fluid dialogue, informed discussions, but also remain aware as to what's happening. This is not by any means to create any fear, to create any panic. We have heard from the guests that is going to be at this conference with what's happening in Jamaica, for example, that it's not that they don't have a department to deal with rape cases, but in oftentimes political, they're underfunded, so adequate resources could be applied in order for persons to get help. For something like that in that jurisdiction, I would hate for that to be the case here. And so going back to what I'm saying with border security, national security, I'm hoping that now that this administration is still in the process of trying to put together a budget for 26 to 27, budget year under this administration, that, that they would be aware and cognizant of what's happening around us, that the Coast Guard, for example, the police are adequately funded to assist in radar detection, that we continue the relationships with our neighbors, our brothers and our sisters, and that we can pool together where we fall short to make sure that the quality of life here remains where we are, because we don't want to be reactive. We're in a state right now that we should be proactive. We're still ahead of it. I have said here, we are a blessed jurisdiction when we're looking at our crime statistics, when we're looking at all of that, but there's work to be done. We know that there are still some open areas, some gaps that needs to be filled that requires adequate funding. And this is a prime time for us to just come together as one to make it better for everyone. But 936-8255, should you want to join into the conversation, I want you to add this last, 10, 15 minutes of the show. I'd be more than happy to accommodate you. My thoughts and prayers go out to the Filipino community for the gentleman who I heard lost his life, to both sides of the family, to be honest, to both families, the victim and the unfortunate, in his unfortunate passing, and to the driver. And I know both sides, that can be emotive. And there's so much discussion around the amount of road accidents, speeding, being responsible, DUI, and the conditions of our roads. I'm going to be honest with you. That West Bay Road, to be honest, even with the pedestrian crossing and those flashing lights, the speeding there still continues, even though we have a lot of pedestrians. Speeds, I have observed persons still going pretty fast on that. And a lot of times we have tourists from the United States that they're used to the right, driving on the right. And many a times they they forget that, and they only look one direction, not realizing there's a difference. We drive on the left here. But not to say any more on that. My thoughts and prayers go out to both families, those of the gentleman who lost his life, and definitely to the persons who are related to the individual behind the wheel. So what more can be done to infrastructure? Do we need more lighting? Do we insist that these overpass that is placed there be more utilized? What's the sense of having an overpass if it's not being used? I'm not going to dissect anything, but we're seeing more and more of these overpassed along 7 Mile Beach roads that are being approved by planning, but yet we're still, what I'm hearing on comments is that they're not being used for the right reason. So is that something that we need to look at? And there was an article in regards to, I think Cayman News Service posted an article as well in regards to DUI and being more responsible in that, in the stats. So we are an evolving and developing country. We have so much to be thankful for, but yet there's still so much work to be done. And it's going to require a level head, persons coming to the table, being responsible, and for the greater good of everybody. And I don't feel, which is why in me inviting that young Miss Palmer and other young persons on this platform to talk about some of these topics, I said I want to hear from different perspectives, not just one. And that is key for me. That is key, that we see it from all perspectives so that it's not lopsided. I'm hearing more and more now publicly about the left side coming from the right side. This side is blaming the other side. And that gets nobody anywhere. No, we don't get anywhere. Let's just sit. Let's just deal with sound discussions, topics that we can do research on, and we can bring it and we can present our cases, and we just respect each other. There's nothing wrong with that, So I'm hoping that as we continue to live amongst each other, no matter what nationalities are here, that we're able to respect each other's rights, understand each other's cultures, without diluting who we are as Caymanian society, and band together more. We don't want the divisiveness. We don't want all of that. That does not bring any good to any jurisdiction. The mere fact that we're all here trying to survive in this space, we have brought many blessings to many persons who have been given job opportunities here, and we have to be able to survive in our own country. But that also comes with a respect of everyone, respecting of who we are as a Cayman society, our cultures, our norms, and also for those who are amongst us, no matter how you are here, be it by work permit, permanent residence, being by marriage, that respect is due. And I'm feeling that if we just share a little bit more love, a little bit more understanding, and just respectfully have the conversations, that we would be a better society. So yes, I am going to wrap up for this evening. Tomorrow we're going to put the spotlight on property insurance, and we're also going to, I want to hear, it's that time of the year. We're gonna have two guests. Miss Nikki Brown is going to be back on, but I'm also going to be joined by another lady. She's known as Miss Karina Hides, and she's going to be speaking in regards to the property arm of insurance. So it's going to be a very informative discussion tomorrow. I was deliberate in choosing my guests, because when we were speaking about insurance in general, I don't feel that the message was delivered in a way. It was just so much information. Because Nikki tried to break it down as best as she can, where health and the value of a life, value of medication, it was hard for you to wrap your head around it. So I felt that it was necessary for us to delve back into medical insurance and property insurance so that you can see the difference between the two as we educate and inform our society, because I feel this industry is just totally misunderstood. I'm not telling you that we don't have unscrupulous persons out there. I'm not telling you that there's not fraud going on. I'm not telling you that there could be more surveillance done and enforcement for holding and nabbing some of these, especially in the medical industry, accountable for all the fraud that is known to be out there. But I felt that it was important for us to bring and put the spotlight on property insurance and medical, with bringing on these two ladies here tomorrow on tomorrow's episode. Wednesday and Thursday, I got some guests lining up. I'm just trying to solidify some, making sure that we can accommodate them, but I'll let you know as the time goes on. So yes, for those of you who stuck it out with me this evening, thank you for staying with me. And for the conference, again, remember, all students is open to the public. For all students, it's free and open to the public for the opening evening at 6 o'clock. And we're going to encourage you to go down there for that. So as I dim the lights on today's conversations, let's rise and toast to our proud sponsor, International Lighting. Yes, that's 39 years of brilliance, comfort, and definitely, let's pop them up here. Caymanian Charm, their anniversary sale down there at International Lighting. Everybody knows Edward is still glowing bright, but don't blink or you'll miss out on all the remainder rugs and bed and bag sets and more that await your home's next chapter. And we know Christmas is coming, so you may want to change those exterior lights or that ceiling fan. Definitely want to doll up the kitchen with those nice mats and the living room. What about the family room? Because you know you're going to have family over and all that sort of stuff. He has specials on all of these rugs. I have seen them with my two eyes. Go down to Edward. He's having sale. He is 39 years of anniversary doing business here in the Cayman Islands. So let's celebrate legacy, shop local, and let your space speak volumes. Until next time, I am Sabrina, and it is proud to bring you another episode of Sabrina Speaks, because we're voices of the islands and definitely bringing conversations for the world. And the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. Until tomorrow, have a blessed evening and be safe on the roads for all of you who are out there. Take care. Good night. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks.
Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, K-Man, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.